Hey guys, Grandmasters just started, and I thought I'd try to start a sort of series where I go through and explain the lineup that I brought, the individual decks and archetypes, but also the tech choices that I chose to bring and what kind of strategy I used. So let's start off with week one. Week one just happened. I was the only player in Americas who didn't bring Demon Hunter, and what I did was try to target combo Demon Hunter. I spent a lot of time watching other people's streams, talking to people, get their kind of thoughts on what they thought the best decks to bring were, and a lot of people I ended up speaking to, and what I saw from streamers was that combo Demon Hunter would be very popular. That being said, both archetypes, combo and aggro Demon Hunter, are very popular, so I kind of expected a bit of both. I was leaning towards hoping that there would be more combo Demon Hunters, and in the end, there actually were, I think, only 3 in Americas. So I kind of missed the mark with my strategy, but I took a risk, and it didn't quite pay off. That kind of happens sometimes. So let's go through the decks that I kind of chose. I spent a lot of time practicing a bunch of different decks from a bunch of different classes to try and find stuff that was that lined up well against combo Demon Hunter. In the end, there weren't really that many, and even the ones I found were kind of questionable at best, but I found we're still pretty well lined up against combo Demon Hunter. We'll start off with Warlock. Actually, one more thing before I dive right into the decks. I expected a lot of Egg Warrior, that no hands game kind of came up with. Maybe some different variants of it, but I expected a lot of Warrior, Spell Druid, and Demon Hunter. So I tried to tailor my decks to be good against specifically combo Demon Hunter, with some nods to these other three decks that I was expecting: aggro Demon Hunter, and maybe any other aggro that happens to show up, Spell Druid, and Egg Warrior. And it might be hard to make all of my decks be good against those decks, but throwing in some tech cards where I can and have space can help if that's what I'm expecting the field to be. I'll start off with Warlock. Warlock was a very popular bring amongst a lot of players, and not just in the Americas and across all 3 regions. My list is a little, I think, different than what other people settled on. Not by much, though. I ended up choosing Rain of Fire as my tech cards and Frozen Shadow Weaver. So Rain of Fire against aggro Demon Hunter, which I still expected some. Rain of Fire together with Morg Artificer can work well to clear all their 2 health minion boards, which ends up being Vile Fiend, Battle Mage, Satyr Overseer. A lot of their sort of arsenal has 2 health, so this combination can help deal with that. It also helps against Druid, who spawns a bunch of Treants or Glowfly Swarms, and the Rain of Fire with Morg Artificer can help clear some of those boards. The Shadow Weaver, again a nod to combo Demon Hunter, can freeze your opponent's face for a turn. And this helps a lot because it becomes a little obvious when your opponent is near the end of their deck and they want to set up the whole Kilthos spell, inner demon, spell, inner demon sort of combo and kill you. And it's not always a full 30. In fact, it's rarely a full 30, although in some cases it can be. The Shadow Weaver helps delay that for a turn. And with the amount of cards that Demon Hunter has, a lot of them is cycle, and they have a very specific amount of removal. So if you can kind of delay them from doing the combo for 2 turns, they will end up just dying to the threat that you have left on the board. Warlock, drawing a lot, can sometimes keep up with the amount of card draw that Demon Hunter has as well. Not quite, but having 2 copies of Frozen Shadow Weaver in the deck, I felt was more than enough to consistently get 1, and sometimes even 2 in that matchup to help sort of lock out the game at the end. There's also enough healing in the deck to help sustain against any chip damage you might get against combo Demon Hunter. And you do have consistent threats with all the invokes, and even just throwing down Netherwings sometimes for a threat can be nice, even the Veiled Worshippers. There's a lot of consistent boards that you can make that apply continuous pressure, and that paired with the healing I felt made this a good match for combo Demon Hunter. That being said, it's also pretty good against aggro Demon Hunter, which is a main reason why a lot of people brought it as well. And of course, the nod to Druid with the Rain of Fire, and also just having the natural AoE with Netherwing and Plague of Flames will help against Druid too. Against Warrior, I found this deck was pretty okay. You can still kind of just get smoked down, but I still felt that Warrior would be an okay matchup for this, so I didn't feel the need to tech anything else into this deck for Warrior. Next up, this is kind of my spicy version of No Hands Gamers Egg Warrior. You'll notice that there's actually no eggs. I ended up cutting both Serpent Eggs. I ended up cutting Gorfine and a bunch of other cards. What I did was make it a little less tempo and aggro-y, while still maintaining a lot of the shell. I still have the Pirates. I still have Live wire lands with Corsair Cache on the Ankar to help consistently get the skippers and the other pirates, which helps me deal with Aggro Demon Hunter. And some of the other cards I included, like Sword and Board and Restless Mummy, I thought would help me in that matchup, because I already think that this warrior deck, and just I guess the warrior class in general right now is pretty good against combo Demon Hunter. Just naturally armoring up for 2 every turn helps get you to a life total that they cannot actually burst you down from. Obviously, with tools like Armor Smith and Risky Skipper, and even Sword and Board, you can get even farther away from the range of potential damage that they can do, which is why I tried to add some tech slots in here to help more against aggro, and this can also help in the mirror if I'm facing warrior as well with this deck. Mummy can help clear up a couple of things, whereas the only other way you have to remove things are your weapons and Risky Skipper clears, which aren't necessarily that efficient against warrior in the mirror. Sometimes against, you know, a Bomb Wrangler board or against eggs, you might not want to pop them with the AoE. So Mummy gives you sort of targeting ability that helps with that. The matchup with this against Druid is a bit tricky. You can clear some of the boards with Risky Skipper, but sometimes they have more than 3 health, or sometimes they'll develop at the Exotic Mount Seller, for example. And Restless Mummy also helps deal with some of that, the Exotic Mount Seller boards. If you can try to deal a couple of ticks of Risky Skipper damage to the beast that are summoned, you can sometimes get through and then use the Mummy to finish off the Mount Seller, because the Mount Seller having 8 health will not die to just 2 or 3 damage. The Restless Mummy, maybe even with a weapon equipped, can help you knock that down. Still not a great matchup, but there are some ways you can get through and beat Druid with this. Third up, we have Reno Mage. This is a very defensive list of Reno Mage. I ended up cutting some threats. You'll see I'm not even running Siamat, which historically was a pretty good card to run. Although the meta has become a little bit faster, and even not necessarily in the sense that you're going to get smoked down, but with even Common Demon Hunter cycling through the deck so quickly, you might not even have time to... You will have time to play Siamat if it comes up, but you might not have the mana to commit a full turn of 7 mana to develop Siamat if you're trying to knock down some of the minions that they've developed for chip damage, or if you're trying to play reactively instead of proactively, which you sometimes kind of have to do against Combo Demon Hunter. And when I say reactively, I mean oftentimes early on I'll even just ping some of the early minions they have, like the Crimson Scission Runner or Novice Engineers, just so they don't get the extra chip damage through. I've included the entire array of freezes that Mage has. We have Water Elemental, Frostbolt, Deep Freeze, and sometimes you can even get Frostbolt off of Malagos. You can discover some more freeze off of Arcane Breath sometimes. Excuse me. And even if you don't have those in your hand, you can even throw that down a Tortolan Pilgrim to kind of YOLO one of the free spells out I mentioned. But I found that if you consistently mulligan for Deep Freeze and Frostbolt, you can help delay the Demon Hunter's combo turn and prevent them from killing you. Mage does still have some explosive tempo tools with Power of Creation. You can Pilgrim boxes. You can get a Solarian shuffled in and try to get some crazy stuff happening with Solarian Prime. There's still Conjurer's Calling on any of the minions that stick, can help create a big board that's difficult for Demon Hunter to deal with consistently. And that paired with the freezing tools I found made Combo Demon Hunter a decent matchup for this deck. That being said, it's not going to be just Combo Demon Hunter that I expected, so I included a lot of defensive tech cards. You'll see I have a lot of neutral taunts. I have Overconfident Orc, Bone Wraith, Kartuk Defender. I included the secret package with Ancient Mysteries, Flame Ward, and Ice Barrier to help against aggro as well. This matchup against Druid isn't great, but you can still get some wins in. Flame Ward can help deal with one of the early boards. Blizzard and Rolling Fireball can help with that as well as Reno, Zephyrus. You have a lot of ways to clear the board, and if you can't clear the board, you can freeze a little bit and try to get to that Reno turn, or even just box. So there's a lot of actually ways to win the Druid matchup, but I found in practice it wasn't that much. I included some stuff that I thought would help, like Rolling Fireball, but it's not quite the matchup I was aiming for. I'm just kind of saying that it can still hold its own against something like that, although it's not favored. I found this against Warrior was kind of okay as well. A lot of the tech cards I included to help against Demon Hunter still helped against Warrior. I have the Ooze, Doomsayer to combat some early pressure. Just in general, we've been running that for a long time, so that same sort of principle applies. But otherwise, didn't include that many more techs for Warrior and aggro. Just the defensive taunts, the freezes kind of hit both. And otherwise, the deck seems kind of what you would see on ladder, a bunch of the standard cards. It's a little bit heavy, but you can't really run this as a complete anti-control deck because you still need to be able to win the game. All right, finally, and I think one of the favorite decks that I brought this week is Priest. I found this is very flexible in terms of what you can include. The cards that help you in specific matchups actually ended up helping me across a lot of matchups, and I'll get into that. A lot of single target removal helps against mainly aggro Demon Hunter. I found this deck was decent enough against combo Demon Hunter, so I committed some tech slots to help deal with the early pressure. You'll see Holy Smite and Penances help me deal with the early Battle Mages, Battle Fiends, maybe some Satyr Overseers. The AoE helps, like I mentioned earlier, with the Warlock, Rain of Fire, and Morg Artificer. A lot of the minions have 2 health, so in that sense here, Holy Nova and Breath of the Infinite can help deal with a lot of the early boards that they generate. A little bit tougher against Warrior, but with enough taunts and heal, it's difficult for the Warriors to end up breaking through. So that matchup's actually pretty good as well. Against combo Demon Hunter, I found that I stayed at full health quite often with heals from Sandhoof Waterbearer, Renew, Penance, even just Holy Nova, and then putting taunts in the way. They do run Silence, and they do run Cane, but it's hard for them to consistently deal with all the taunts and healing things that you're throwing out on the board. So I found that it was difficult for them to actually kill you in a turn sort of from 30. So they'd have to kind of chip away at your board over and over again, and eventually you might just overrun them. Or they do a sort of big combo, not actually killing you, and then you clean up the board and then heal back up a little bit, and then that ends up sealing up the game. This also helps. This deck is also pretty good against Druid with the amount of AoE you have. I included a copy of Mass Dispel. It doesn't help too much against Demon Hunter. Some people are running Questing Adventures, and against that type of list, it can help. But I thought it would be more useful against Druid, so I only included 1 copy. Like I said, I'm trying to target specifically Demon Hunter, even more specifically Combo Demon Hunter, but I didn't include that many tech slots for other decks, just a few to sort of hedge my bets. Another unique sort of tech I included was Shadow Madness. It helped a lot against Demon Hunter, the aggro list in testing. And it even helped against Druid, where you could Shadow Madness one of their treants if it had Soul the Forest on it. You could kind of make their board a little smaller like that, or even just deal with an early Glowfly Swarm, throw out a Shadow Madness and a Penance, whittle down the board to something that will not let them kind of push that much damage with Power of the Wild or Savage Roar. It can also help a lot in the mirror, which is really cool. A lot of people are running Grave Runes, so waiting for them to Grave Rune a target and then Shadow Madnessing it to steal it, kill it off, and get the benefit from that can help too. That being said, I don't think I want to throw that much at anti-aggro because I'm trying to beat Combo Demon Hunter. But the tools that Priest has, I found were pretty good against all the decks that I were expecting. So I think Priest was a very obvious bring. I only had 1 Plague of Death. I found it was a little slow in basically every matchup. You don't really expect to be clearing a full board of Demon Hunter minions on turn 9. It's very good against Druid, and it can be helpful against Warrior as well with Terran Gorfiend and Serpent Eggs. But ultimately, I thought it was a little too heavy to include 2 copies of, so I left it at 1 copy here. So yeah, I ended up finishing top 8 week 1. Like I said, I tried targeting Combo Demon Hunter while still hedging my bets against aggro, against Warrior, which I expected a lot of, and Spell Druid. That being said, only 3 people brought Combo Demon Hunter, so my lineup kind of missed the mark. Fortunately, I was still able to get some good wins in, make it through Swiss to top 8, but I fell short after that. So we'll see how this continues going forward. Next week up, we have Last Year Standing, so stay tuned next week for more, I guess, lineup analysis, and hopefully I'll get a bit better at editing so you guys can see some better content from me coming up. Smash that subscribe button, by the way.